it is so comically overdue to speak about what I think is the most interesting player in basketball history, and that is Elgin Baylor. Before LeBron James and Kevin Durant, before Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson, before Michael Jordan and Clyde, before Larry and Dominique, before Dr. J and the Iceman George Gervin, there was Elgin Baylor. And we talk a lot about all-time greats on this show. A lot. And we cook up so many different topics and scenarios and questions. And again, like I say, up until this point, Elgin has managed to be excluded this entire time. And we realized it should probably cook up a segment that gives us an opportunity, not just myself. I know you guys have players you're fans of that these modern-day fools, per se, peasants may not be well versed on. And that's why Elgin Baylor's career is so interesting, is his legacy is odd. It's hard to pigeonhole, to categorize, to define him. But Baylor was one of the single most gifted players to ever step on the court. It just was what it was. He was the first superstar, well, after George Mikan. But Baylor was the first wing player. He was the first wing athlete that wowed people. He was the first positionless player. He could be your point guard. He could be your center. Aldi. Starting at center. Forward and guard. I love it. He could guard all 5 positions. He could score on all 5 positions. It was a different game. Faster would be the wrong word, but it was more up-tempo. Remember that scale of relativity I used for adjusting Wilt Chamberlain's and Bill Russell's rebounding opportunities to the same that Dennis Rodman had?
Absolutely, you did. Best episode we ever had.
It was a great episode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just to jog your memory, or for new listeners, the typical game in 1960 and 1961 featured an average of 147 rebounding opportunities. During Rodman's 7-year reign, which was from 1991 all the way to 1998, that's when he led the league in rebounding season after season, a typical game featured only 84 rebounding opportunities. So without any further inquiry, the difference alone means that Chamberlain's record, he had the most rebounds per game in a single season. Chamberlain's record of 27.2 rebounds per game would roughly translate to 15.4 in Rodman's era, which was actually a full rebound less than Rodman's 16.7 rebound per game average. Any chance I have to jam a Dennis Rodman statistic in there, I will. So that's what I mean when I talk about tempo of the game being different. It was up and down the court, shots early on in the shot clock, some pretty abysmal shooting, but a wealth of opportunity to stuff the stat sheet. And other than Wilt Chamberlain, nobody did it better than Elgin. Difference between Wilt and Baylor, Wilt was 7'2", 285. Baylor was a modest, an average, if you will, 6'5", 225.
I have 5 guys on my rec team bigger than that.
Correct. Again, Wilt was 7'2", 285. Baylor was a almost pedestrian, 6'5", 225. Well, he wore it well. He looked a little bit like Paul Pierce if you shaved a couple inches off. But he didn't stand out from a frame element. His structure wasn't otherworldly. You didn't look at Elgin Baylor and go, wow. You looked at Wilt Chamberlain and went, wow. He wasn't a great athlete. He didn't pop off the television screen at you. He wasn't Bo Jackson. Let's put it that way.
Oh, love Bo.
He wasn't Bo Jackson.
We should do an episode about Bo.
Let's do it about Bo Jackson. Speaking of NFL players, though, Elgin Baylor was just better than everybody on the court, and everybody in history, I actually compare him to Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is not the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. There's a slew of players who can outrun him. Antonio Brown is not the biggest wide receiver in the NFL. He isn't the strongest. He can't jump the highest. Yet, despite all of those things, he's still the best in the NFL. He's just better. His attention to detail, his obsession with technique, his quick twitch, his route running, his timing, his anticipation, his understanding. Just as all those things did for Jerry Rice, it separated Antonio from everybody else. It's the exact same idea with Elgin Baylor. You can't necessarily pinpoint one thing. He's just better. And we talk about innovators, we talk about originals, we talk about pioneers, we talk about forefathers of hoop all too commonly. Elgin Baylor, godfather of the wing position. He was the Michael Jordan of his era, excluding the sheer dominance from a championship standpoint. But he had the flash, the flair, the technique. He had the wow factor. He had the I've never seen that before plays for his time. One of my favorite quotes ever. Pulled it from NBA.com in their encyclopedia section. And I quote, had Elgin Baylor been born 25 years later, his acrobatic moves would have been captured on video, his name emblazoned on sneakers, and his face plastered on cereal boxes. I think that's enough chatter, though, about what Elgin was. Let's hit you with some stats and career accomplishments. Aldi, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Before I get
I got
really,
a question before
really
you get
excited.
into it.
Go ahead.
Do you know what Elgin Baylor's middle name is?
I sure do. Gay.
The best part is
the original
for everyone not in the house. Ryan's eyes never wavered, and with the utmost confidence, he responded, "Gay."
Oh, he knew.
The original Happy Buckets.
Yeah.
Elgin Baylor.
Definitely. Happy Buckets.
Love it. But honestly, can I talk to you?
Like to me or to him?
Just both of you. Can I
Yeah,
talk
I'm
to you
listening.
guys? All right.
Oh, a collective.
I'm
you.
listening, and not only am I listening, but while you're talking, I'm rolling some Elgin Baylor highlights on my
I'm
phone
reading
right
Elgin
in front
Baylor
of
as
me,
well,
For
my friend.
you.
just to set the
All
tone.
right.
Everybody at home, turn on
Loosen up the shoulders.
your favorite Elgin Baylor highlight tape right
Turn up
now.
the bass
Yeah.
for Ryan's voice as well.
Uh-huh.
Let it hit home. Feel
All
it.
right. I'm about to go off. I got bars. First overall in the 1958 draft, he won Rookie of the Year.
Sure did.
In 59, 11-time All-Star, 10-team first All-Pro.
How many years in a row?
Ooh.
Can we? I'm gonna fact check that
Go ahead.
because I want to see if it's more than Timmy D.
I want to
'Cause that would
say.
impress me.
I want to say it is consecutively because he had that knee injury that basically, completely screwed up the rest of it or the remainder of his career.
Because he only played, 14
years,
right?
seasons. Yeah, he only played 14 seasons. He would have played more, but like back then when you tore an ACL,
There's
You're
no
that ruined
fancy-
ruined your life.
Yeah, there's no fancy
walking with a
little
crutch.
robots going
Like-
into your knee and
Right.
clipping something out of your hamstring and tying it back together.
You're not
and fixing
coming
it.
back more athletic like
No.
Adrian Peterson and Russell Westbrook
Or
did.
Zach LaVine, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Yeah, like you never walk the same, like you're Frankenstein after you tear your ACL in the 60s, right? They used to
Yeah.
throw dirt on you and
In the 50s, they used to just put you down.
Yeah.
Like a race.
Sorry.
Take him out to manger. And
no
put a
quality
shotgun
of
to
life
his head.
for you. But yeah, like I say, 11-time All-Star, 10-time first team All-Pro, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 77, and he led the Lakers. Come on, Lee, you're a Laker fan. You got to
am.
be getting on board with this.
Oh, I'm on board, man.
Do you know when, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I'm just curious. When did Minneapolis become Los Angeles?
1960-61.
Good for you. Good for you, Aldi.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Good
I
for
was
you.
already prepping like how I was going to explain that I didn't know, and then you just came to the
Hey,
rescue.
we are Laker fans together.
Yeah.
You get what I don't
Collective
know.
knowledge.
And then
Share.
exactly.
It's like a
Collective
network.
knowledge.
Exactly. 11 in a row.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What?
Tim Duncan, who?
11?
7 in a row? Nothing.
11 All-Pro firsts in a row. Good God. But for a period of, I see with that golf clap. For
Thank
a
you.
period of time, though, Baylor had the most points in a regular season game, in a playoff game, and in one half of a playoff game.
Should we ask Lee how many points he had as a Laker?
How many points did he have in a playoff game as a Laker?
71.
Did you look down at your phone, or were you just?
Do you see me looking at
That's
my
a video.
phone? I'm
Good
just
for you.
sitting here
Good
with
for
my
you.
hand
Good
on
for
my
you.
chin. Like, yeah, 71. I remember it sticks out in my mind because it related to the Kobe's 81, so that one stuck in my head.
In 1962, he became the first player in history to finish in the top 5 of 4 different statistical categories: scoring, rebounding, assists, and free throw percentage. One of my favorite obscure stats ever. Baylor averaged 34.8 points per game in 1961.
First year in LA.
Yes, sir. He averaged 38.3 points per game in 61-62. And in 62-63, he averaged 34 points per game. That's 34.8. That's 38.3. And that's 34. Pretty impressive, right?
Happy buckets.
Elgin Baylor never won a scoring title.
What? Goddamn Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. 34-8, 38-3, and 34. He never won a scoring title.
And we talk about Kobe getting robbed of his MVPs.
Yes, sir. In those 3 seasons that he averaged all those points, he also averaged 19.8 rebounds, 18.6, and 14.3. In the year he averaged 34.8 and 19.8, he also averaged 5.1 assists per game. Elgin Baylor never won an MVP. Here's a more obscure stat. It gets even goofier. In the season, he averaged 38.3, 18.6, and 4.6.
That's a monster stat line.
At
That is
6'5"?
crazy.
At 6'5"?
Yeah, that is wild.
That season was 61-62. Keep rocking with me, gentlemen. That's 38.3, 18.6, and 4.6 at 6'5" in the 61-62 season. He finished 4th in MVP voting.
Bananas.
Do you have the facts of who finished
I do.
in front of him? I'm assuming you do.
Bill Russell won the MVP with 18.9 points per game and 23.6 rebounds per game. Can you say robbed?
Yeah, learn how to score Bill Russell. Get out of here.
This is where it gets particularly goofy. Wilt Chamberlain finished 2nd in MVP voting with 50.4 points per game and 25.7 rebounds per game.